I visited him in Leavenworth. He got 65 years, but Carla Homolka was out in 12.
Yeah, there is a contrast
all she did was kill her sister. That's nothing important.
But before we get into how Paddy Mitchell became what he became and how you became an Ottawa fire captain, let's talk about how you came to write the book. One thing that you don't see a lot of on the shelves is memoirs by firefighters.
And
why
you
yours?
You won't, because as I mentioned many times, my wonderful friend Pat McAdam, he was Brian Mulrooney's right arm.
Right.
And he's got to be one of the smartest human beings I ever met in my life. And when I started writing the book, I said to him one day over coffee, I said, what's my competition? So he says, I'll find out. So he went to a cocktail party with the Canadian Library Association. And the Canadian Library Association informed him that I was the only Canadian that ever written an in-depth book on firefighting from inside the head. It's the only one ever written. So I would get very, very fortunate. Pat introduced me to Arnold Gossevitz. Now, Arnold Gossevitz's brother, Herbie, used to have Richie's on Spark Street, the sports store. Yeah. Very, very nice man, both of them. And Arnold Gossevitz, I told him that I was the only Canadian that's ever written an in-depth book on firefighting, according to Pat McAdam. And he says, Pat's wrong. And I said, well, I guess he's wrong. Maybe you have better information. He said, you're the only North American. He said, there's 2 other books written by a Dennis Smith. He wrote Firehouse. It's an excellent book.
Right.
I bought it. It's an excellent book. He wrote another book about Engine Company 82. Yeah. But both those books are excellent, but they're more statistics than anything else. How many fires? Like one statistic that in New York City, almost half the babies delivered in different boroughs are delivered by firefighters.
But that's not a memoir. Yours is. And it's penetrating, it's searing. I mean, you describe scenes from your past with a vividness that I think would shock some readers.
Yeah.
And it's a roller coaster ride because the highs are high, but the lows are hellish.
Yeah.
And one wonders why you wanted to commit this to print instead of just running away from it.
Look, on July the 26th, 1997, I was directing a fire as a district chief. And there was an explosion. It was raining. And the hydro wires came down. The hydro vault blew up.
Right.
And it was almost like slow motion. The wires started curling in the air in the rain. And then Chief Dave Smith, Deputy Chief Dave Smith was in charge of the whole fire.
Right.
And it was just going, and then the hydro wires hit the ground. And a fire station and a fire scene is not a democracy. I'm very much for freedom, rights and everything else, but a fire station, you listen to the guy in charge.
Yeah.
When he gives you an order, you do it yesterday. And 2 guys were coming out about 35 feet away, and I screamed at them, get back. And they backed in the door if you're ever looking at a hydro wire, the top one's 14,000 volts. The 2 under are 7, and 110 can kill you.
Yeah.
So they backed in the door. A 3rd guy, I thought he was dead. So I just went into a complete state of overwhelm. I didn't care about me, because that was the 5th or 6th time this happened to me when I wasn't supposed to come home. This is what I put Sharon through over the years.
Right.
And anyways, I went down. I guess I got a charge from the ground. I don't exactly know what happened, but I went down, and then I went to get up, and my men had enough respect for me to sit on me. They kept me on the ground. They loaded me into an ambulance. The ambulance took me to the Civic Hospital. The 2 paramedics, one of them said to the other, I think we're going to lose this guy. And I'm looking around to see who they're talking about, and they're talking about me.
And we're going to pick that up when we come back from the break, Pat.
Certainly.
We are talking to Captain Jimmy Allen of the Ottawa Fire Department. Tonight to Captain Jimmy Allen, retired of the Ottawa Fire Department, the author of Extreme Heat, A Firefighter's Life, which you can find in chapters in Indigo or on his website, jimmyallen.ca. And Jimmy, before we went to break, I asked you why you would write this book when firefighters don't do that. They don't write memoirs. You were telling me about how you came in contact with a hydro line during one job and were being given up for dead by the ambulance attendants.
So the ambulance gentlemen, the paramedics, they were having a discussion. I think we're going to lose this guy. And then when I got to the hospital, the nurse said, do you want to see your priest? I said, I'm a Protestant. She said, do you want to see your minister? I said, I'm an alcoholic. I'm an AA member since the 70s, and I have a great relationship with a higher power. Is it that bad? And she said, yes. So I said, I'd like to say goodbye to my wife. So Chief Tommy Blondin took the chief's car, and he went to get my wife and my daughter, who was visiting, brought them to the hospital. She came in to see me with my daughter, and I picked out my pallbearers. And she said, I don't want you to die. I said, I don't want to die either. But Sharon, how many times should I have died? If this is the time, I'm going out like a man.
Right.
And I said, I don't want anybody to wear black. I want you to rent the hall I had thing for Patty Mitchell and Preston Street, the soccer club, and have a nice party for me, get some designated drivers so nobody blows their licenses.
Right.
And I said, you're going to get a lot of insurance money because I've taken care of you that way very well. The house will be clear, and I've got a couple of $100,000, so you're going to do all right. So I didn't die. The paramedics came in a couple of hours to find out where I was going to be waked. That's how sure they was going to die. And they told the nurse that my blood pressure in the ambulance was 186 over 122.
I hate to correct you, Jimmy, from your own book, but it was 280 over.
Yeah, 280. 280.
Lethal.
Yeah, lethal. And they don't understand why I didn't blow up. I guess God gave me a good heart, or a mediocre brain, but a good heart. But anyways, then I went to my doctor, and my doctor wanted to put me on Paxil and other things like that. And I said, no, I don't ingest drugs. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm afraid of different drugs. And I said, anything I ingest, I read about. And Paxil can become addictive, and it's good for a lot of people.
Right.
I'm not criticizing the company or anything else, but it's not for me. He said, you're going to suffer. And I said, well, then I'll suffer. So then I'd have these dreams at night that Edgar Allan Poe would think up for me.
Right.
I'd go to sleep, and all of a sudden I was 8 years old again. And I'd be walking along the parkway, and I'd be looking at the Ottawa River. And a beautiful day, the sun is shining. I could feel the wind on my body, and I'm 8 years old, and I'm pulling a wagon. I'm in short pants. I go back to the wagon to see what's in the wagon. And I look, and there's a great big giant wicker basket. And I look in the wicker basket, and there's a body wrapped up with black electrical tape. So I start taking the electrical tape off to see who this is. I never find out. I wake up, I'm wet from here to my knees. Another one, I'm 14 years old. I'm in short pants again. I'm in charge of everything is sensible in your dreams. I'm in charge of an aerial ladder. I pull up to a high-rise building, and all my friends are all young again, and they're all on the balcony saying, Jimmy, save me, save me, save me. The psychologist told me, she said, you're in a complete state of overwhelm. So I couldn't take it anymore because I had to take my children's room because I couldn't sleep with my wife anymore because it's not pleasant. So, and then of course I learned the names of all the disc jockeys through the night because all I would do was go to bed and try to sleep and try to go unconscious, but then back into another horror show. Eh? Right. So anyways, I end up going to a psychologist. Dr. Doreen Goff is her name, and I love the woman. And she told me, she said, you know, what's wrong with you is very, very simple. I said, well, what's so simple about it? She said, I deal with military, police officers, firefighters, doctors, nurses, even tow truck drivers. Right. That's another group of people you don't hear too much about, but I have a lot of admiration for. They sometimes, because of their situation, end up on a major accident with 2 or 3 dead and arms and eyeballs all over the place. Yes. And they're the first there. And I have a lot of respect for my tow driver. And she said, I deal with them all the time. I said, how do I get rid of this garbage, this pus, this slime, as she called it, inside my body? She said, you write about it. I said, but I'm not an educated person. I have a PhD in real life. Right. You put me in India, I'll have a job and a place to eat in no time, because when you're from a family of 13, you're a survivor. Right. So anyway, she said, you write about it. So I started writing about it, and my wife said, these are great stories. I never heard them. I said, I don't bring my garbage home. She said, maybe that's part of your problem. Right. So I went to her for 2 years, and sometimes I'd make her cry. I told her a story one time about a fire we had on